Good morning, my name is Jake Livingston, Operations Chief for the Alaska Type 1 team, working on the east zone of the Cedar Creek Fire. Yesterday the fire received some rain, not a lot of rain, but enough to subside the fire activity for a short term. We do expect the fire to dry out again as the smoke clears and the sun comes out. Today we're expecting temperatures in the lower to upper 60s. The relative humidities are moderating in the upper 30s, so that'll help out a lot with fire behavior. Winds are west-northwest today and tomorrow. The overall strategy for this fire is point protection along the corridor in the lakes, and then confinement. By confinement, I mean we're utilizing the road systems. We have assessed going direct on the fire's edge, and we feel it's a safety concern, a real safety concern, and exposure to our firefighters. As an example, we had a UAS, a drone flying yesterday in the Charlton Lake area just to get us some information on fire behavior and the location of the perimeter. And while those UAS pilots were out there, they heard pretty much continuous trees and snags falling, so that validated our concern with safety with having firefighters in here to go direct on this fire edge. There are a lot of snags throughout this forest. There's not a lot of fire history in there. And just a sense of scale, within our zone alone, there's 35 miles of perimeter. It's not as simple of a perimeter as it may look on the map. There's a lot of zigzags and everything. So just around this whole area here to the zone boundary up on the north end, 35 miles. As far as our operations on the fire, starting in the south end, down by the zone boundary, we have a lot of coordination going on with P&W 3, the incoming team on the west zone, and some coordination with DOT and then the local fire departments down there. Specifically with DOT, we had conversations about the Highway 58 corridor and closures, and we came up with a good plan to not close the highway when we're down there with our firefighting operations, but keep it one lane with a pilot car. So that's a good thing, because we can allow traffic to flow through 58, and we can continue to do what we need to do to set up our operations down here. As far as the Pacific Northwest Team 3 in the west zone, their plan is to use the Fuji Mountain Trail as a containment feature. They're going to do a small-scale burning operation along that down to the 5897 road, and that's where we'll meet up with them. We're doing some prep work and brush removal along the 5897 road down to the Fuji Mountain Trail, and our intent there is to confine the fire up in here, north of Fuji Mountain Trail and west of the 5897 road. But then planning out further in the event that fire comes from the north or this wouldn't work, we're doing structure protection around the north shore of Odell Lake, Willamette Pass ski area, the west shore there. Yesterday we had just some assessment, getting numbers of structures, building supply orders. They did some scraping with hand tools, just removing the duff layer and some vegetation around some structures. They'll continue that today. They'll get supply orders in, they'll set up sprinklers, that sort of thing. We do have a camp being set up down at the junction of 429 and Highway 58, calling that Junction Camp, and that's where all the resources will be camping, working on the Odell Lake, and then out to 58, and then up around toward Division Juliet. As another confinement location, we're using the 4668 road that goes up toward Davis Lake. It's more of a catcher's mitt. In the event in the future the fire does come out this way, it's an option that we can use. So it ties into Davis Lake. There's a large lava flow right here. Then we tie into the Highway 46 corridor, and that's where Division Juliet is bringing their brush removal, tree removal, debris removal south along the 46 corridor, Cascade Lakes Highway. They're working west side of the highway, 100 feet in, 40-foot spacing amongst the trees. So that's a shaded fuel break. It's not an entire removal of everything. It still leaves some trees to make it a little more aesthetic along the highway. As far as up in Division Papa, they're doing the same thing, but moving northward with equipment and ground personnel. And then up in the corner on the west side of Crane Prairie Reservoir, the 700 road leaves the highway and heads up towards Cultus Mountain. They are prepping that 700 road, much the same as the highway, but a little smaller scale. But they're going to use the road system that goes around the back side of Cultus Mountain is another control feature that they could use in the event this closest fire perimeter starts to move that way, protecting the values at risk around Cultus Lake. And then just some scale, about 2.5 miles from the closest fire edge to 46 Cascade Lake Highway, right there. That's the closest point. And we started our operations here along 46, heading north and south, because this was the closest point. As I mentioned, Cultus Lake, Division Papa did do some structure protection measures up at the resort at Cultus Lake and some of the campground sites around there. Sprinklers and pump and hose, that sort of thing, brush removal. As we move up into Division Sierra, they don't have a lot of equipment yet, but they have started working 46 corridor heading north. They have some other personnel. They've been working on Lava Lake Resort area, setting up some structure protection measures, much the same as they've been doing on Cultus Resort, as well as Crane Prairie Resort doing much the same. They are using this outer roadway, the 4270 down to the 42, as an alternate to get around all the equipment on the highway, and we've got some graders out there just to keep the road conditions, keep the road in a good condition, really. And then as Division Sierra moves north, they'll move up into the Elk Lake area. As conditions change throughout the fall time, we will look at opportunities to go direct on the fire edge, but there needs to be more rain. Like, we're looking for about 1/4 inch of rain to really check this fire up enough so we can safely get in there with our fire personnel. And then we'd also have to assess the area to make sure the snag hazards are at a low enough level that we could mitigate it with some chainsaw operators and that sort of thing. Some other challenges we have within the fire area would be, we have some roadless areas, we have wilderness areas, so we do have access issues. Some areas have road access, but then a lot of the other areas do not, so that's a challenge. We're not expecting a lot of new growth over the next 48 hours, but as I said, things are drying out, and as we get further away from the small rain event we had, we expect to see more activity. And I just want to remind everyone to tune in tonight at 7 p.m. There's a community meeting on Facebook. Thank you.